Hey, what's up guys? Back again with another video in the Java Servlets and JSP series. This time I'm going to show you how to make your first project. So last episode I showed you the specifications for the project, like what you need to do and all that stuff. And I even gave you a short demo of what it looks like. So let's just run that again so we can see what we're trying to build. Just as a quick example. And yeah, so hopefully you're excited for this little project here because it'll allow you to test your skills out, you know, all that cool stuff. So let's just wait for it to open here. And besides that, I hope you're having a good December, a Merry Christmas. So yeah, this is what we got so far. We have a simple compound interest calculator project here. I even have the document open. And like I said, if you haven't watched this video, then go ahead and watch it. By the time this is out, then this one will also be out. For right now, it's limited to members only, but it'll be out. And yeah, so this is what we have here. It's a simple project. It looks really nice. I'm using a CSS framework called TailwindCSS. You can use whatever you want, but I'll be using this. And I fell in love with it within the past week or two. It's a really nice framework. It allows you to make really cool things really easily. And maybe I'll make a couple of videos on that if y'all want to. And yeah, so the main thing of focus here is actually going to be the form and the processing of the application here. So again, just to recap, what you're doing here is you're inputting the information here, and then when you click calculate, it's going to send that information in a HTTP post request, and that's going to be processed, and then the calculation will be sent back to this form here to be displayed. Okay, so that's what we're going to do this episode. So let me move that to my other screen for reference, and let's get started here. So let's make a new project. So file, new project, and we're going to make a new Java EE Servlet application. If it'll load, come on, buddy. Okay, there we go. Now it's loaded. And so yeah, make sure you don't have any of these other ones selected. Make sure you have Java Enterprise selected, and then you have the correct options. So Java, obviously. The build tool, you can do whatever you want, but I'm going to do Maven because that's the easiest for me. Although we're not going to be using that this episode. And then you have a test runner. We're not going to be doing any unit testing, so you don't have to worry about that. You can leave it on what it is by default. And then for the project SDK, that's just the version of Java that you want to use to make this application. I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter, so we're just going to do, I'm going to do Java 15, but you can do whichever you want, because versions above Java 8 have some useful functions we can use to do some calculations and stuff like that. So we may need the new features. You don't have to, but it makes our life easier. But anyway, for the project template, of course, select web application. I think this is new, but select web application, and then also select Tomcat. Whatever Tomcat server you have installed, okay? Anyway, so click next, and that's going to pull up this, and just make sure you have Servlet selected, and I think that's all we need. So Servlet, and then you have Java EE and Jakarta EE, doesn't matter. Select Java EE 8, click next, and then now we can give our project a name and location. So let's first select the location. So we're going to go to development, and we're going to go to tutorials, okay. And we're going to put a slash here, and then we're going to give it a folder. So this will be the folder that our project lives inside of. So we're going to call this, how about Servlets project 1. Okay, so for our first project, and then the group name is going to be me.codysimpson, although you can put whatever you want. That's fine. So Servlets projects 1, and then the version doesn't matter. Okay, so cool. Click finish. And now it's going to generate everything, and I'll be right back. IntelliJ seems to be laggy today, but that's okay. Anyway, so it looks like we got everything loaded here, so we can close this. We don't need that. We can close this. We don't need that. And let's open up our project structure here. And the first thing we want to do is, well, we have our servlet here, but we're going to make a new servlet. It looks like it gave us a default servlet, which is pretty cool. This is new. Yeah, that is definitely new. It never gave us this other stuff, so that's really cool. Unless this is me. I'm pretty sure this is new, I think. Yeah, this is new. Really cool. That's a good example, but we don't need it, so we're going to delete this, and we're going to replace it with our own servlet. IntelliJ is being so laggy today. Hold on. Oh my gosh. So we're going to delete this. We don't need it, so delete. Okay, so we're going to make a new one here. So new servlet at the bottom, so create new servlet, and we're going to make a servlet, and we're going to call it calculator servlet, calculator servlet, and click OK. Now it's going to create the servlet for us, and we can mess with it now. So what we're going to do is have a simple servlet that is going to handle the HTTP post request whenever you submit the form. So we're going to need the form next. So this is going to be the web page that they use the calculator on. So new, oh, I was looking at the wrong thing. So open web app, and then we have an index.jsp by default, which is helpful. So we can use this. And what we want to do is we can get rid of all this junk here. We don't need that. And let's just set up a really basic form here. So this is going to be the form that they use to do the calculation or input their information and then do the calculation. So it's just going to be a simple HTML form. So if you don't know anything about HTML, then you should know about HTML if you're watching this. So we're going to make a new form here. And inside that form, we're going to have a few things. We're going to have some inputs. So if we pull up this right here, if you pull up the project specification, you can use this as a reference for what you need. You need the principal, interest rate, the time, and then the number of times per year to compound. Those are the 4 things that you need. So that means that we're going to have 4 input boxes. So input, and this one, the first one that we're going to do is a type of number. I think they're all going to be type of number. So type of number, and what this will do is this will be for the principal amount, so the starting amount. So we'll have a label for this. So label, and we'll call it principal amount. Okay, and we have to connect these 2 things. So for, and we'll call it if I can type principal amount, and then we'll give this an ID of principal amount, so that'll link it. So ID principal amount, there we go. So now these 2 things are linked, and now we'll make another one. So we'll just copy this. So now we have 3. So principal amount, and then we need the interest rate, and we're going to do the interest rate as a percentage, as the instructions say to do. It's percentage, and we'll rename this to interest. So interest rate, and one thing we can do if you want to, you can set a minimum and a maximum. So min is 1, and then the max is 100. So technically an interest rate, I mean, I'm not good at math, but I'm pretty sure an interest rate can be higher than 100%, because obviously that'll make it a higher interest. But we're just going to set it to between 1 and 100 just for the purposes of this. You can do whatever you want, whatever makes sense for you, of course. So yeah, it's going to be 1 through 100, and then for the principal amount, that can be anything. So we don't need to set a limit on that. And yeah, so that's all we need for that one. So now let's go to the next one. And the next one's going to be the number of years. So we'll call it years. That's a fitting name, I think, right? So years. And rename this to number of years, like that. Okay, and the number of years, do we want to limit that one? I don't think we should limit that one, but we should set a minimum to 1, because it doesn't make sense to have 0 years. You want at least 1 year, right? And then the final one is going to be the compounding period. So let's rename this to compounding period. Alright, cool. So let's rename this also. So times per year, that's a more understandable. So times per year. And I think you saw this in the last episode where I explained the project to you, but it can be higher than 12, I'm pretty sure, but we're just going to set it to 12 so it's simple to understand, just because there's 12 months in a year, but it can be more than 12. But yeah, so that's looking good. It's a very basic HTML thing. It's not going to look very good, but it has what we need to do what we need it to do. And so the form here, we need to set up the form to actually do something whenever you submit it. So we're going to have a action. So the action is going to be the route that we want to submit the form to. So we're just going to submit it to the default route, the root route. And then the method will be a post request. You can do get or post, but we're going to do post because usually post is what you want to do for forms where you're submitting data. So that makes perfect sense in that case. And yeah, one more thing we need is a button, because that will actually trigger the form to submit. So you need a button here. So button, and it'll be a type of submit. It needs to be type of submit for it to work with the form. And we'll give it a name of calculate. Okay. So again, this is going to look really bad, but it's going to have whatever we need. So let's go ahead to our calculator servlet and make sure that we have it mapped to the root route. So that should do it, I think, right? I think that should do it. I think maybe this will do it. Let's see. I don't know. We can do multiple, right? So we can do that, oops, and that, whatever maps it to the root route, whatever. So yeah, this should map it. So now we can handle the post request when it comes into the servlet. So what we want to do is grab the information as it's received. So what are we going to be receiving? We're going to be receiving these 4 inputs here, the values in those 4 inputs when they're submitted. So we're going to have, let's put those 4 things in a string. So principal amount, and the reason we're doing it as a string is because whenever you get a parameter, it comes in as a string by default. So request.getParameter, and we're going to call this first one. It needs to be the same name as the name of these inputs here. So we need to set a name for each of these. So name is equal to, and then that name will be mapped to what we're trying to grab as a parameter. Okay, so principal amount is going to be the name of that one. So that means that when we grab it, it's going to be called principal amount as the parameter. I hope I spelled that correctly. Let's just copy it just to make sure everything's the same. Okay, so there we go. So principal amount, and then next we want the interest percentage is equal to request.getParameter interest percentage. And then next we want the years, so is equal to request.getParameter years, and string compounding period, if I can spell, request.getParameter compounding period. Sorry, I'm trying not to burp, I hope you didn't hear that. So yeah, we have these 4 things now. We need to set the rest of these. So name is equal to interest, and then name is equal to years, and then name is equal to compounding period. Is that what we have? Oh yeah, we want to rename this one to interest percentage. Actually, we'll keep it as interest and then change this one to interest percentage because that's easier to understand. And yeah, and then we'll have another variable just to store the error if there's any errors. You'll see how that works in a second. But yeah, now we want to, before we actually do the calculation, we want to check to see if any of these are null, like usual, because they could have provided no value in any of these here. So we want to make sure that they do provide a value for all of them. So we'll just have a if statement. So principal amount is equal to null, or interest percentage is equal to null, or years is equal to null, or years is equal to null, or and then these are where the newer Java versions come into play. Like I said before, when we were choosing the version, newer versions of Java have newer utility methods you can use. So for example, we can do years.isBlank, and that's a newer method we can use to see if something is blank, a string is blank, right? And it's giving us a problem here because we need to set the Maven version here to match our actual version, so 15, and just click the reload button here. But like I said before, you can use whatever you want as long as you get the job done, right? Oh, it's because down here we have it set to 11, that's why. So we'll set that to 15. There we go. So that should help. Okay, cool. All right, so now that's working. So years.isBlank, and then we forgot to do compounding period, so we'll do compounding period is equal to null, and then compounding period dot isBlank, and then we'll just keep adding some more. So we got compounding period is blank, years is blank, so we want to do principal amount is blank, and then years is blank. No, we already did that. Interest rate is blank. So this might be a little redundant, but we're just adding is blank just to make sure everything is provided successfully. And so yeah, that'll check it for us. And what's the problem here? It says if statement has empty body. Okay, that's fine. And so if any of these are true, then we know there's a problem. So we'll do an error. So error is equal to, and we'll say one or more of the input boxes were blank. Try again. So we'll have this error, and then we'll send it back to the user. So we're going to do request.set attribute error, and then oops, sorry, I try not to There we go, error. So anyway, so now we have the error set. So we set the error variable here, and then we set it as an attribute, and then at the end here, we can reroute, or we can forward that request back to the original page for that error to be displayed. So we can do get servlet context dot get request dispatcher, and then we want to tell it where we want to dispatch to. So in this case, index.jsp, and then forward the request and the response, just like that. Okay, so now that's going to be forwarded, and let's see. So what if, okay, so else, if all of these were successfully provided, then we want to actually do the calculation, right? So we could do the calculation within this servlet here, but if we're going to, you know, try and follow some good design patterns here, it would be better to have a separate class that does the calculation for us in terms of, that would be considered separation of concerns. So if you have different functionalities, you want to separate those functionalities into different modules, right? So you want to split it up into different sections, right? So it's easier to work with and stuff like that. So anyway, we're gonna have a separate utility class here that does the calculation for us. So we're gonna call it utils. You can call it whatever you want, of course. So we're just gonna have the simple static method that does the calculation for us. So we'll do public static double, so returns a double of the calculation result. So calculate compound interest, and it's going to accept double principal, so the principal amount, double interest, integer years, let me zoom out a little bit, and then integer compounding period. Alright, so inside of that we want to do return, and we just want to do the calculation based upon the formula that was provided. So we're just going to try that using the Java math functions here. So we're going to do the principal amount times the math.power, so that's going to do a exponent thingamajiggy, and inside of that we want to provide 1 plus the interest rate divided by the compounding period, and then what your let's see, and then the exponent is going to be the compounding period times the number of years. So I think that's all we need for that, right? Let me check. Let me double check. Let's pull up the thing here. So the principal amount times math.power. So this will be the power thing. So inside of this we have 1 plus the interest rate over the compounding period, and then the exponent is going to be n times t, which is the compounding period times the number of years. So yeah, it looks good. So that should do the calculation and return it. So let's go back to here now. And inside of our servlet, we'll do double result is equal to utils dot calculate compound interest, and just provide all 4 values. So in this case, it's asking for the 4 values as doubles. So what we need to do is convert these strings to doubles. So we can do double dot parse double and just provide the value, and I'll try and convert it to a double. If it can't convert it, if it's not a valid string that can be converted to a double, or just throw an exception. So next we need, if we do control P, we need the interest rate. So the interest that is provided is going to be the interest as a percentage, right? So we want to convert this to a decimal amount, right? So double dot parse double interest percentage divided by 100. So we're just converting it to a decimal number. So in this case it wants an integer for the amount of years in the compounding period. So in this case we can do integer.parseInt and just provide years, and also do integer.parseInt and provide compounding period. There we go. So it's providing all of those, and this, don't forget the semicolon. And yeah, so now after we make the calculation, we want to set the attribute. So we'll do request dot set attribute result, and then result, and we want to forward that back to the page. That's what we're doing down here. So no matter what's being forwarded. Okay, so let's just do a quick recap of what's happening here. So whenever you submit the form with all your things that you want to calculate, that's going to be sent in a post request to the default route, and this servlet should pick it up and process it. So it's going to take all of those 4 values and put them into variables, and it's going to check to see if those 4 values were successfully provided and that they're not blank. And if one of them were blank or not provided, it's going to return an error and forward you back to that form and display the error. And then otherwise, if all 4 values were successfully provided, it's going to calculate the result of the compound interest formula, and then it's going to send that result back to the page in the forward. So what we need to also do is go back to our page here and have a thing that displays the error. So we can have a simple p tag for that. So in this case, we'll have error. And what this will do is only display the error if it's actually provided in the request as an attribute. Otherwise, this won't exist pretty much, okay? So first, let's get rid of the deployment thing. We don't want this. We want to set it to nothing, right? There we go. So that'll fix that problem. And then everything else looks to be good. And so before we test this out, we need to make sure to do the get route so that it actually sends you to the JSP page, right? So we're going to do get servlet context dot get request dispatcher and provide the page, so index.jsp, and then forward request and response like that. So let's try rerunning this now and see if it works. Okay, there we go. So now on my thing right here, look, there we go. So now we have the page. It looks really bad because we haven't done any CSS styling or anything like that. So it looks really bad, but as you can see, it actually has everything that we need. So that's pretty cool too. Pretty cool. But yeah, so that's it. That works. But first we need to actually have another thing at the bottom here that displays the calculation. So we're gonna have a simple, we'll have a p tag. Let's have a simple p tag here that does results, and then it displays the result if it's provided as a attribute back to the page here. Okay, so let's rerun this and see the result of this. Okay, there we go. So now it says results, but it's blank because we have not provided a result. Let me try zooming in for you guys here. So yeah, it looks really bad. Anyway, so now let's try testing this out. Let me just put some values in here. So we'll do the principal amount is $1,000, and the interest rate, or the interest percentage, is going to be, we'll do 50%. There we go. And the number of years is going to be, we'll do 5 years. And the number of times per year, we'll do 2 times per year. So that should calculate it, and then put the results. So calculate. And there we go. So now the result is 9,313. It does have a bunch of numbers on the end, but what we can do here is go back to the utils thing and cut this into math.round and just provide what we want to round it with, or round what we want to round, and that's going to return the rounded version of the calculation. So now we should not get the extra numbers on the end, so that's cool. Okay, so I can confirm that that is the correct value. I just did the calculation on my calculator. And so now let's make some more modifications to this form here. So what we want to do is, how about we forward the values back to the form after we do the calculation. So what I mean by that is, after we do the calculation, or actually after we submit the form, what is happening is we're sending those 4 values to the post request, to the servlet, and then the servlet is either going to send back a results variable attribute, or it's going to send back an error attribute. Okay, so how about we also send back these 4 values and put them back into the input boxes so the user can see what they had already before they submitted the form. And yeah, so it just makes the life of the user easier if it has the values back there. So let's try that out. So what we want to do is go back to the servlet here, and right before we forward the request, let's put these values back as attributes. So we'll do, what is it? Request dot set attribute, and then we'll do each of these. So principal amount, principal, and then principal amount, and then request dot set attribute, interest percentage, and then request dot set attribute, years, and then request dot set attribute, compounding period. Okay, cool. So that's going to be forwarded as attributes back to the JSP page. So what we want to do is grab these and put them back into the input boxes, and we can do that using the value attribute, HTML attribute. So we'll do value and then interest, or no, principal. I think that's what it is. And then name is equal to years, or no, interest for this one. And then name is equal to, not name, I meant value, sorry. I just woke up, so don't roast me or anything like that. So value is going to be years. And again, because we're using this special tag here, it's only going to put it if it's provided as an attribute. Otherwise, it's going to ignore it. So that's really cool. So value, compounding period. Okay, cool. So now it should take all of these and put them back into the input boxes if they're provided. Awesome. So let's run this again and see what happens. Okie dokie, so we got the page back up here, so let's put some values. So we'll do 300, interest percentage is going to be 20%, number of years is going to be 7 years and 1 time per year. Calculate, and then we get 1075, so it's rounded this time, which is pretty cool. And as you can see, it put everything back except for the principal amount, so there's a problem with that, but everything else works as you can see here, which is awesome. That makes our life easier because as we calculate it, the values don't go away, so we can actually see what we inputted in case we want to know that. It's good to know things like that. And also, if there's an error, it'll display the error, but also we'll know what we can change. So let's fix this before we test out the error thing. So let's make sure, or let's figure out why this is not working. Oh yeah, because I spelled principal wrong. There's 2 ways to spell principal. I spelled it the wrong way, so principal. Okay, I think that should work now, so let's try again. Alright, so let's try it out. So 300. 22 years, 7, and then 1. There we go. So now everything's staying in the input box. And let's see what happens when we provide nothing for one of these. So let's do nothing for this and try calculating, and there we go. Now we get the error. So one or more of the input boxes were blank. Try again. So that's really cool. I hope you think that's cool too. So now it displays the error if there's any errors. So pretty simple, but awesome. Alright, so this was a pretty simple project. We're not done though, so next episode I'll be showing you how to style this to make it look nice using TailwindCSS. Besides that, I hope you enjoyed this little project. We've used everything that we've learned so far to make something really cool, and hopefully you enjoyed the projects because there's going to be more like it in the future. They're going to get harder as we go on, of course, but hopefully you're excited. Anyway, so yeah, stay tuned for the next episode where we show you how to style it. Anyway, so thank you for watching. Make sure that you check the description below to get the code for this episode. I'll leave it for you so you can use it as a reference if you need it. And also, you can go below and see our Discord link so you can join our Discord server and join our community to hang out with us. You know, get help on your programming stuff, you know, get some new programming friends, whatever you want to do. Just come join the community. And also, if you want to support this channel, you can click the join button below this video and you can join this channel as a member for as low as 99 cents. $5 or $10 a month. So it comes with some cool perks like a cool Discord rank so you can show everyone that you're awesome. It comes with early access to all of my videos like this one here. This is early access for my members. And also you get your name on the video like you see right now. So that's pretty cool too. Anyway, so support the channel if you want to. You don't have to, but I would appreciate it. And yeah, so if you like this video, leave a like. If you want to see more, subscribe, and peace.